pressing record, remembered to press record, so that's great. So Matthew's here now to help us do some chanting. And I don't know about you, but in the manifestation workshop that we just had, just his voice was helping that resonance within me to allow me to release and let go. And maybe that was because I did your workshop a few days ago on sound healing, Matthew. But you have one of these amazing voices that the resonance just goes straight through you. So I'm really looking forward to chanting. So please help me welcome back for the third time to the Virtual Mind Body Spirit Festival stage, Matthew Jaidev.
Thank you very much, Gail, for those kind words. And I will say that my journey of coming to find my voice was one I touched on in the sound healing the other day. But the irony was I was such a shy and quiet child that felt like I remember saying, if only I could sing. That was my dream. And so the journey of my healing has been with music and voice. And that's why I feel so grateful to share my journey with you all. And so, yeah, welcome again, everyone. And I'm happy to share with you the science of mantra chanting. And so today I would like to go into two parts. The first half, I will take you a little bit more into the science from Kundalini Yoga. I've been trained in Kundalini Yoga. In 2015, I went to Española, New Mexico, where they actually have a Kundalini sanctuary there. And I studied for 1 month under the teachers there. And that's where I went really deep into mantras and chanting. So a lot of my experience has been from the actual Kundalini yoga tradition, which I'll bring forward today. That being said, there are many traditions of chanting in many different languages. And really, a chant is just a repetition of a sound. Repetition, you could make anything a chant, such as which we'll touch in today, even our belief systems, things that we repeat in our mind. But in its more pure form, a chant is something that we have available to us to create an intended effect. And so I'll explain about the waves of the mind, how we can use chanting to balance these waves within us. And then the second half, I'll give us all a chance to sing some chants with me from some of the different traditions. So thank you again, Gail, for inviting me. And let me see if I can utilize this screen sharing technology here. I have a graphic I would like to share with you guys. So let's see if I can share this. Okay, so let me, I'll know maybe at the hand up or a chat. Can you guys see my screen? Yes, okay, great. Great, so this is a graphic that I have created from past demonstrations I have given. So I don't know if I'm able to do any kind of marking on it here. Let's see if I'm able to sketch. Okay. All right, great. So basically, everyone, this here I have some renditions of the human head. And let me see if I can zoom in a little bit on this so we can focus on the areas that we'll be talking about first. All right. So I'll get into all that we have here, but in the basics of what I've drawn here, basically a head on looking at from the forward position here and in profile. And what I'm going to do is basically tell you about some of the parts of our body that are stimulated when we are actually chanting. As Gail used that great word resonance, our body actually has its own built-in resonance chambers from not only our mouth and our diaphragm and our lungs, but the entire body itself is able to vibrate. And you may notice this when you go to a loud concert and you can feel like the bass energies are actually shaking your body. And so this is where exploring the voice, we can begin to use our own voice as our own self-resonance tool. And so this, like I had mentioned, is going to be shared from the Kundalini Yoga tradition. Kundalini Yoga was brought to the West in the 1970s by Yogi Bhajan, who had became a master of Kundalini Yoga. And as I mentioned in my last manifestation presentation, I like to use the word philosophy because a lot of these things we try our best with yoga to connect them to science. And in some way, I feel like yoga is a good bridge between the spirit and scientific world. So a lot of this is related to humanology. So I'll do my very best to explain it as it was explained to me. And as we see here on the side of my screen, that mantra, if we break down what is a mantra, so mantra is a Sanskrit word that is related to chanting mantra. Okay, so when you break it down into its two parts, man means mind and tra means waves. And so basically, the mind itself, it has these what we could call, there's actually a better annotating tool. I'll use this. The mind itself has the ability to create frequencies through what we call our emotions. And so emotions in the Kundalini belief is that emotions are all frequencies of the mind. So feelings like happiness and sadness and anger, these are all different states of being, states of frequency. And so with a mantra, basically giving our opportunity to change our, I guess you could say, the recipe of what the mind is experiencing by self vibration. And so a mantra, we're going to affect the waves of the mind. And I can't remember the specific detail, but it says like we have 10,000 thoughts in one day. And so when you think about that, just exponential amount of thinking that we have, it's easy for us to get caught in a loop of thinking, and it's easy to just reside more in our minds than in the actual the moment itself. So mantras can be used in many ways to just return us to the moment, to bring us joy, and to also, if we believe in the idea of prescribing mantras, a lot of these mantras say they have an intended effect. And so I'll subscribe that more to a philosophy. I can't say whether that is true or not, but I do believe in what you could say is the placebo effect, that if you have a belief and bring an intention to a healing experience, that yes, you may very well may have that intended result. Okay. And so what I would like to show here is we'll look at the profile of the head here, and let me see if you guys are able to see my can you guys see my cursor on my screen too, or you just see my image? You can see my cursor. Okay, great. Okay, so when we're looking at the profile of the head here, what we see here, in our mouth we have our tongue, and when we're speaking and chanting, there's certain syllables, like if you all say the word or the letter D, try saying the word D right now. D, D. Do you notice what's happening? Where, pay attention to what your tongue is doing. D, D. It's actually striking the roof of the mouth. Okay, so this is how certain sounds are created, is where they're hitting against our tongue or our teeth and different parts of our mouth. And so inside of our bodies, we have a wonderful nervous system, and some of these nerves actually travel up into different parts of our head and vibrate. So we have here, as you see, the pituitary gland. And so when we're striking the tongue against the roof of our mouth, it's actually sending little signals. In Kundalini, they almost said, imagine like your tongue is like the keyboard, and you're typing out an SOS signal every time you speak. And those very minute vibrations are going up into your brain. Someone earlier had mentioned about headaches and things like that. So you might be able to use sound and self-sounding to explore moving some of that energy around. But we have the pituitary gland, and right above it is the hypothalamus gland. The pituitary gland is known as the master gland, and the hypothalamus, they work together in conjunction of all sorts of features of the body, from like body temperature regulation and giving signals of thirst and hunger and different needs and drives and whatnot. Earlier, when we talked about the chakras, I did not mention, but a lot of the chakras have a relationship to different glands in the body. And so above them, there is this somewhat more a mysterious gland called the pineal gland, which sometimes has had an association with the third eye. And so it is said that when we are chanting, we have this ability to stimulate these different glands in our brain and in our head, and that those master glands then therefore can send signals throughout our entire nervous system to calm it down, to basically give us an opportunity to give it a different wave of the mind, instead of the ones that you could say, like if you have like if you imagine your mind is like a ship, and sometimes the pirates come on the ship and they want to take control of where the ship is going. Those are like those thoughts, like they say, the monkey mind. So this gives us an opportunity to take back control of the ship and steer it in a direction we want, and therefore bring more of that intention to our experience. And so we can use mantras and sound to basically bring a balance back to the mind and to our overall nervous system. And so what I'm going to do, I'm going to shift over to this view of the face from the front. And so what I've done here is I've drawn on one side of the brain and the other. I had mentioned this in the last class too about the sun and the moon. So in Kundalini Yoga, they talk a lot about solar and lunar energies, which we had mentioned. Solar can be considered more of your active principles, the masculine principles of the human experience, whereas lunar is more the feminine quality. And you see, I wrote also the yin yang is a great symbol to show this. A dichotomy of the two sources we have. So if we want to look at the solar energy, which would actually be on the left side of the brain, if you were looking over here, this one here is going to be, actually, did I say that right? So I believe it is. One interesting thing I learned in yoga as well is that one side of your brain actually controls the opposite side of your body. So I believe it is, yeah, the left side of our brain is the solar, and so that controls the right side of our body, and the right side of our brain is the feminine, which controls our left side. And so if you want to see like an interesting connection to that, is that you can see like when people who are left-handed, they say they're very creative. It's like they're stimulating more of that right brain energy. And so that's kind of an interesting correlation. And so what we see here is that the yeah, let me see if I can get some of these drawing tools. I saw some. Was that you, Gail, drawing that sun on there? Let's see. Okay, somebody was helping me draw. Great. And so if I can bring in some of this, let's see if I got what color. Yep. Okay, so we got the yellow of the sun here. And then we'll come over here to like a more of a blue. I've got a blue color. Okay. And so, yeah, the blue of the moon. And so if we look at the two sides, you can also consider the sun as a heating energy. So we'll look over here. We have yang, heat, daytime. And this is in Kundalini called the Pingala. So this is one channel of energy. And actually, if we look at how our body has two nostrils, one nostril is used to heat the body and one nostril is used to cool the body. And so this is part of where Kundalini Yoga becomes fascinating, is that we can actually tap into our nervous system by knowledge of our breath. And so if we're feeling cold, for instance, we could do more left nostril breathing to bring in more of that solar energy. Whereas if we're feeling we need to relax, if we were overstimulated, we could go to the right brain, which would be our, did I say that wrong again? Yeah, let me recorrect that. The right brain would be controlled by the left nostril, and the left brain would be controlled by the right nostril. Let me see if I can get a better annotated tool here, guys. Sorry, it's my first time actually using this annotation feature, but I think it will be helpful for you guys. Here we go. I think this is the one I want. Okay, so if we just draw a line here. Okay, there we go. There, that helps us see a little bit more. So, and then I could say over here that this would actually be the left, and this would be the right if we were looking at yourself in the mirror. Okay. And so if we look over at the yin energies over here, those yin energies, like I had said, those are more of those cooling energies. Okay. So that has to do with the night, the yin, the more of the feminine energies. And this is called the Ida. And so these two channels actually move. Let me see if I can, okay, I have to, if I scroll, it will move these. So sorry about that. So if we scroll down and we see on our image here, these two channels, you may have seen like in the Kundalini energy, these two serpents that are coiling up. And so these are the two channels, the Ida and the Pingala. And so these are related to those, not only to our nostrils, the cooling and heating mechanisms of our body, but also to those solar and lunar qualities, okay? And so it says also within us are these abilities to create abundance, but we also have the ability to go into scarcity mindset. So those are two mindsets that we could consider. So when you're said to be in an easier phrase to think of these are positive and negative. Okay. And we're not saying that like the masculine is a positive energy, meaning it's good, and the feminine is a negative, meaning it's bad. We're just giving it, as you see, like the little symbols here on the screen, a polarity, like electricity. So there's like a positive pole and then there's a negative pole. Okay. So it has nothing to do with good or bad. It's just being polarity of energies. And so when we get into, let's say, the positive state of mind, that's when we're living in that state of abundance. And that's when we feel more like, oh, we can attract anything. That's when we talked about manifestation. Yeah, I'm confident. I know I can bring this into form. But scarcity, that's the loss. That's saying, that's that obstacle. That's that hesitation. You say, you know what? I don't think I can afford this right now. I'm not, I don't have the money for this. I just can't do it. Or an unexpected bill comes and we get anxious. Okay. So the reason, and according to Kundalini, why we have this, the stress is because we are bouncing back and forth between gain and loss all the time. We're always weighing out what can we gain from this? What can we lose from this? Okay, so that's where it says a lot of our anxiety comes from, those waves of the mind. And so Kundalini's solution, or their prescription, they would say, is to be in what is called the corpus callosum, which is this center ridge here in the body, excuse me, in the brain, which unifies. Oops, let me go back to my drawing tool. So this unifies the right and left hemisphere. And so I said, this is another benefit of chanting, is that we're able to basically activate both sides of our brain simultaneously. And so this brings us into more of that full yin yang balanced state where in Kundalini, they call it the state, the mindset of neutrality, which the quality they say is prosperity. And so this is where, in a true yogic type of mindset, if one was to live a life as a yogi, to be unaffected by gain or loss, kind of like earlier we said, what's an example of like living in a different state of consciousness? This would be where you decide, you know what, maybe someone stole my car, but maybe that thing is leaving, so something greater could come into my life. Or maybe somebody needed that thing more than I. It's like it's just being unattached to gain or loss. And I think it's even in Buddhism that says that our suffering is the attachment is the greatest source of suffering. So it's very deep, and it's very woven into the human experience, how much all these energies are at play. But I like the way that Kundalini explains it in some of these terms of abundance, scarcity, and prosperity. And so that is another benefit of chanting, is the ability to take control again of the nervous system by coming into the balance of the mind. The balance, therefore, then, as we talked about, the glands sending those signals through the hypothalamus and the pituitary down through the entire nervous system. Okay. And so that's what's going to give us some of these benefits, um, what we could say are practical benefits. But really, one has to experience this for themselves. And when we explore yoga and chanting, you'll see there are lots of interesting words. So, like, for instance, here we have Sat, Chit, Ananda, which means truth, wisdom, and bliss. So you'll see that phrase Sat a lot in Kundalini. Sat means truth. Sat Nam. Nam has to do with a vibration or a name or a word. So when someone says Sat Nam, is basically saying truth is my identity. Okay, so a lot of this comes from Sanskrit and the Gurmukti language, which is a variation of the different Indian dialects. And so a lot of the words, if you can find ways to not get hung up on the sounds. And so what I'm going to do in a little bit before we get into the chanting, I have this exercise over here I call just the vowel consonant exercise. And what I've realized about this is, yes, we do get attached to different sounds, and this is how we can find that some words bring us joy and some words trigger us. But then I realized, what if it's not the word? Maybe it's just the sound. And so I would like to take us through a little bit of this in just a few moments, where we can kind of purify our relationship to sound and say that, you know what, somewhere along the way, like for instance, I always had this hang up on curse words. When someone would curse, I would get I'd feel triggered by that. And so I started working with the sounds of those words, and that would actually help me kind of move through any of those old um, hang-ups that I had. So I would like to share that with you guys today. And let me see here. Yeah, purify a relationship to sound. Thank you, Gail. So at the this time, before we get into the actual exercise, I would like to ask if anyone had any questions about anything I just um, shared. You're welcome to put it in the chat or come off of mute. I'm happy to help further anyone's understanding. Okay, but if not, we can keep moving. What is kirtan? Okay, great question. So kirtan is more of a what you could say is like group chanting, and that would be where you are chanting songs of God is kind of the phrase that I have learned, where it's like devotional song to some of these different Indian Sanskrit gods. But traditionally, instead of like just chanting done on your own, actually, this is a good segue to what I'll show you guys here. Um, so we have like Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. And so when you start exploring yoga and different Indian traditions, you'll see there are these gods' names will be mentioned a lot. And I will share a correlation I discovered in one of my philosophies. But kirtan basically would be chanting as a group, usually with music. So I brought my guitar today, so I'd like to give you guys some chanting with the guitar. If we were all in a room together, that would be a very powerful experience to be in person, because we could feel the vibrations of each other's voice and see the human experience, and all together create that, what they say is like the sangha. The sangha is like the group or the community and energy. And so kirtan in its most beautiful form will usually have lots of instruments, and usually people will rise into dance. So it can kind of create this ecstatic, moving experience as well. Um, and so those are a beautiful way to experience group chanting. Okay, so great question, Kaz. So someone just says, Karen says, so basically chanting can change your state of emotion, relieve anxiety, headaches caused from stress, allowing to stay in a moment. Correct. Yes, those are some of the benefits of chanting, Karen. And so we can look at them from a holistic view, like you just described. We can look at them from a more spiritual view. And so traditionally, a lot of chanting was done as reverence to these gods or these energies, which I will kind of break down and decode here, and then we'll get down to our experience. So when we look at the traditional relationship to chanting, it's coming as that form of like giving, like you're giving praise, like saying a hallelujah, a praise to a god. And so in India, they have three main deities. So they believe in multi a deity belief system, and so they're known as Brahma, who is known as the creator. Vishnu, which sometimes is called Krishna, is known as the sustainer, and Shiva is known as the dissolver. Okay, so or the transformer, and sometimes related with death. And so what I've done is I realized um, that when we look at these three energies and we look at the name, the word God as an acronym, you can see it as the GOD. And so for those of us who grew up more in the West, like if you came from a Christian background, there's typically the talk of just the one God. And so when you explore some of the Eastern traditions, it kind of may challenge some of our beliefs, but that's okay. Because I feel like this, like the world is like a hemisphere too, two hemispheres. So we have the East and the West, but when we, unite the two spheres, we get that whole brain or that whole world perspective. And so when I see God as an acronym for generator, operator, dissolver. This was from the Kundalini teachings. Okay. And so when we talk about what Brahma represents, he is the generating energy. So generating is like birth. And then we can go deeper into saying like birth is like the dawn of the day. And then check it out. When you look at any sound, every sound has four parts too, or in a way, like three parts according to my diagram here. But it's the first part of a sound is called the attack. Okay. So the attack is like that initial, like when your tongue strikes the roof of your mouth, the d, if you're going to say the word like darling, like d, that word that you start off, that's the attack. Okay. So then the next quality of God, the operating quality, this is Vishnu. So this is the sustainer, but you could also see that as the life. And when we look in the metaphor of the day, if Brahma is the dawn of the day, then the operator, the sustainer is Vishnu, Krishna, and this is the sustain of a sound. And so if we use that word darling again, so if I say darling, you can hear that part of the word that holds out. That's the S here, this line, ling. and then there's multiple syllables as well. But so you have a life of the sound, and then when it ends, the ing, and then it fades into silence. Darling, that's the dissolving energy. So this is something that took me a while to like embrace in life. But death is a hard lesson, I feel like, for us as humans, because that's we get in that attachment. We don't want to lose relationships. We don't want loved ones to go, and we have pain when things are taken from us. So I feel like in the Indian tradition, to have a relationship with that dissolving energy, the Shiva, the transformer, that is the death energy. So that's like the end of cycles. That's the end of life. And we can look at like this journey of the sun. That's dusk, when the sun is setting to go into the dark each night. And that's called the decay of a sound. So as I explored sound, I actually thought it was a wonderful teacher to show us how it's connected to these creator energies. And so when we for those of us who are on the manifestation lesson, we can see that the power of our voices to create is very profound. And so this is where being mindful of how we express ourselves is actually, in a way, operating these creative energies all the time. And another great example of this is like in the Bible, they say, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God. And in science, we have the Big Bang. So we have so many examples of how sound has been used as these creator principles. Okay. So that was just something I wanted to share with all you guys, to see another way to look at how sound is kind of operating as this really wonderful um, primordial force in so much of what we do. But in a way, it's so instant. You don't even think to speak. We just express. But I like to see how it could be potentially connected to those creator energies that they talk about here in the Sanskrit tradition. Okay. All right. So I think, and I see there's another question here. Let's go to the question. So Kaz says, should chanting be a daily practice, and how long should we be doing the chanting? Okay, that's a great question. So I would say any type of spiritual practice, I wouldn't say there's a hard and fast rule. I would just say to trust your intuition, to trust your journey of what you're being called to. If you get joy from making sound, from singing, then yeah, you might enjoy doing it every day. If you would like to create your own morning ritual or a routine, chanting can be a wonderful part of any type of meditative experience or some yoga, because what you're doing is you're getting in touch with your expression centers. So each day, if you do some chanting, you're going to be able to greet the world from like a warmed up. Your vocal channels will be exercised. If you could think about, I'm going to stretch my body, I'm going to do something for my mind, I'm going to meditate. Yeah, exercise your voice. So you could do chanting daily, and really, I would say trust your intuition. If you want to give yourself a 5 minute chant, I will say this: in Kundalini, they do prescribe meditations, almost like saying, "Oh, here's something you would like to happen. You should do this meditation." And they usually suggest different durations, anywhere from 3 minutes to 7 minutes, and 11 minutes can be traditional, all the way up to 33 minutes or 62-minute meditations. And believe it or not, we once did a 2.5 hour meditation at my Kundalini training in the morning hours, just chanting for 2.5 hours. And you do go into a bit of a trance state, because it's almost like you're in the moment, but you're somewhere else simultaneously. It's really fascinating experience. So I would say you really can't overdo it. It's just, if you get tired, then you take a break and you get some water and you do some other activities. But
So
if you would like
Matthew,
chanting, I
Matthew,
say
what
just
are
use
the
your.
what are the benefits of chanting?
Yeah, we kind of touched on that a little bit earlier, but I'll come back around. So Karen had asked and confirmed that chanting can change your state of emotion. So if you're feeling low energy, if you're feeling depressed, if you're feeling anxious, if you're feeling not in the moment, chanting can bring you into the moment. Chanting can help change your state. Chanting can help elevate your mood by moving those energies through the body. Chanting and the kirtan can actually be really great, like we said too, for community and bringing that sense of connectedness with one another. Um, yeah, I'll
You,
see if
you
I
can
can find a resource and I'll
you can
share it
use
with
it
you,
for
Gail.
a I guess you could
Go
use it
ahead.
for a reset, can't you? If you're not going too well during the day, then you can use it as a reset.
Yeah, that's a great word. Thank you for throwing that out there. Yeah, exactly. So reset yourself exactly. So if you're feeling like if we go back to the diagram of the head here, so if we got, if you're in the heat energy, you're feeling anxious, you got a lot of anxiety and nervousness or too much energy and you're like, "Oh, I got to calm down." Go to the chanting, sit down, find find a chant and you can do that. Maybe you're feeling tired and you're more of that yin, but you know you need energy. You can use it for also for that. You can re-energize yourself, refresh yourself. So you can use some of these observations of the human experience and find you can even look online for like chanting for certain applications. And so that's what I would recommend. I will share a few of my favorite chants tonight, and I think we're going to 8:30, right, Gail? So we can do about 30 minutes worth of sounds for today. But yeah, there are lots of benefits of chanting. One of the best, though, is I think Gail summed up nicely for that reset, just to take yourself back into the presence of the moment, which I really feel is the most beautiful place. Because and you can get in the future forward thinking, worrying about something that hasn't happened yet, or we can get stuck in the past, reliving events. So being here now really is the only reality. So chanting is a great way to return to the presence as well. So great questions, everybody. At this time, I would like to draw our attention over here to the chanting. Excuse me, the the vowels and consonants that I have on the screen. Let me see if I can pull it out a little better. Okay, so on the left-hand side of the screen, what we have is this chart, which is just basically our vowels on the top and the consonants on the bottom. And we don't have time to go through the entire exercise today, but once you guys get the feel for it, I invite you to go through all of the vowels and consonants. And so, one interesting thing I have read about, let's see, there we go. I've read about the vowels and consonants is that the vowels, these can be also considered more of the feminine energy because they have a flow to them, whereas the consonants are more of a masculine energy. They give form to our words. And so by doing this, we're getting in tune with a lot of those energies we talked about earlier, the yin and the yang and the masculine and feminine, lunar and solar. But usually when we go to sing, if you just kind of are singing and intuitively and toning, like right now, let's all take a deep breath, place your hand on your heart, take a breath, inhale, exhale. Then we'll inhale again. We'll just say, ah, that sigh of relief. Let's try that again. Inhale. Ah, ah. Okay, so notice what sound is in there. That that's the A. Okay, so when you or e, you're using the vowel sounds to kind of go into that intuitive soul song, you could say. You could try to sing those consonants, but most likely you're going to find yourself falling back into a vowel because those are the flow, those are the feminine energies. And so what I found with this exercise is what we're going to do, everyone, is we're going to run through, maybe we'll do about 5 to 7 minutes of this exercise, and then we'll turn to the actual chanting so y'all can experience that. And so what we're going to do is we're going to start with each consonant and we're going to run through each rendition of its combination with the vowel sounds. Okay, so we have at the top the long vowel sounds like A, E, I, O, U, and beneath it the short vowel sounds A, E, I, U. Okay, and so to give an example, we would combine with the letter B and we would sound out each version of that, and it would sound kind of like this for B. Ba 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 ba. B B B B B B ba 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 ba. Okay, so we'll start that again, and I'll just like tap out my hand to a rhythm, and we'll all start, and we'll go through the letters one at a time, and then we'll go through each vowel sound. And so this basically is going to give us a chance to tune into what sounds we resonate with and which ones do we feel maybe some sort of trigger from. And the more you work with those sounds, the more you can bring it into that balanced state, like we said, where it no longer pulls you in or out of scarcity or abundance. You're just balanced and you are unaffected by that sounds. It neutralizes, like Gail said, reset. So this is a great resetting of our relationship to sound. Okay. So I'm going to start a little, just tapping on my leg if you want to tap along. We're going to start at B. So take a breath, inhale, exhale, and then we'll inhale to begin. Inhale. Ba 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 ba. B B B B B B B B ba 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 ba. Bye 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 bye. Bo 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 ba 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 ba. Boo 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 ba 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 ba. Inhale. Exhale, and we'll continue with C. Ready, go. K K K K K K K K Ka 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 Ka. Ki 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 K K K K K K. Kai 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 Ki 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 Ki. Ko 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 Ka 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 Ka. Ku 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 Ka 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 Ka. Inhale, 2, ready, D. Day, day, da, da, day, day, da, 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 da. D, 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 da, 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 da. Die, die, da, da, die, die, da, 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 da. Do, 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 da, 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 da. Do, 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 da, 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 da. Inhale, 2, ready, F. Fa, 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 fa. Fee, 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 fa, 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 fa. Fi, fi, fa, fa, fi, fi, fa, fa, fi, 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 fi. Fo, 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 fa, 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 fa. Foo, 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 fa, 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 fa. Inhale, 2, ready, G. Gay, 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 ga, 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 ga. Gee, 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 gay, 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 gay. Guy, 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 gay, 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 gay. Go, 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 ga, 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 ga. Goo, 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 ga, 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 ga. Inhale, 2, 3, H. Hey, 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 ha, 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 ha. He, 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 hey, 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 hey. Hi, 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 hey, 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 hey. Ho, 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 ho. Hoo, 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 ho, 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 ho. Inhale, 2, 3, J. J, 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 ja, 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 ja. G, 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 J, 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 J. Jai, jai, J, J, jai, jai, J, 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 J. Jo, 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 ja, 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 ja. Ju, 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 ja, 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 ja. Inhale. Exhale. And we'll just stop at the letter J for today, but you see there are 2 more columns. And so I can also send this to Gail, and that will be a resource for you all if you want to explore this on your own. But it's just the alphabet, so you can even help. And this will allow you. You might have noticed. Did anybody notice anything? Any feelings come up for certain sounds? Okay, that could be something that you can have your own personal exploration with. Maybe you got maybe some sounds like the H. H's to me sound like laughing, like the ha 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 and the ho ho ho, like Santa Claus, so you can kind of find some levity and fun. Someone said, yeah, that was fun. Kaz says, can you please talk about the speed of the chant? How do we select the speed? Okay. And so that's a great question. A lot of times, like when you do go, if you go to a kirtan or a chant, like what I will demonstrate for you all, you'll have a chant leader. And so that's usually somebody who, will choose based on an intuition of where the group is at. So if that speed I was doing might have been excuse me, if that speed was too fast for anybody, that might be just something that is good feedback for me as a practitioner for first time chanters to slow down a little bit, because when you get used to chanting for a long time, it's easy to just go into faster speeds because you build more of that muscle memory, and your mouth and your tongue are more exercised. So it's just like any kind of, sport where you practice that thing for a long time, you're able to access faster. But faster doesn't necessarily mean better. It's just basically your own personal comfort level. And so, same thing for you, Kaz. I would say just explore and what feels right. So, I'll try to find a good tempo for some of these chants we'll do tonight. And but when you are doing the chanting, you can definitely slow it down. There are different instruments that you can use to accompany you. If I had a harmonium, that's like a pump organ. That's a very traditional instrument that is played during chanting. I like to use the guitar because of its rhythmic qualities. It helps me kind of keep on the beat with everything. Let's see, I got a few more questions here, and then we'll move on to our. And someone asked about a specific chant, the DKT. We'll come back to that at the end of the class. Ann says that was fun. Gail, I can feel the reverb. Karen, the uncapped letters is hard for me to know the sound. Okay. Actually, Karen, maybe you can clarify. I'm not sure what uncapped means, what you mean by that. Cass says, also, these sounds seem to be based in English. Other languages have other sounds. Does that matter? Um, oh, the lowercase. Okay. So the lowercase, yeah, there are different versions of, you have long vowels and short vowels. So I am basing this on the English language because that's, my traditional language. But you're right. When you go to Sanskrit in these different cultures, they do have different letters, and some of these letters might not exist in those languages. So to be ideally to learn this from those who speak these Sanskrit languages, it would be the most ideal teaching of them. I'm teaching based on what my teachers have taught me, and some of them were from the Sanskrit tradition, and some of them were also English speakers like myself. So there is possibility for, not the 100% purity to be transmitted when we are sharing even any language for that matter, because we all have our own take on it. Um, but when you explore the sound, it's based on your experience with it, is what I would say. So when you find that place inside of you where you can find your own rhythm, like we talked about in the last class, that's what we'd like to focus on today. Okay, let's find an opportunity to just try to experience our experience without the mind. But it's great that you all have questions, because that's just our curiosity. The inner child wants to understand why, why, what does this mean, and why. And like I said, guys, these are all philosophies, and so I'm doing my best to bring it in that neutral, objective language as possible. But the questions are great because that helps us all grow. And so let's circle back around for questions. Towards the end, I would like to give you all some chanting for the rest of our time, and then I'm happy to answer any other questions. So what I'm going to do, I think I'm going to stop share and then come back with one more document that I have with the chants on the screen. So let me pull that up, and then we will go into the chanting experience for everybody today. So here is this. Okay, let me go to my share screen, and then we should be ready. Okay, so now on the screen, you should see just a document where I have typed in the first few chants, only put some space between them. So the first chant I would like to share with you guys is this one up here. So this is from the Kundalini Yoga tradition, and these words are from the Gurmukti. So I'll just type that on the screen, is Gurmukti. Okay, so that's just a dialect of the Indian language of Sanskrit. Okay, and so you can actually, I think I spelled it wrong here. There we go, Gurmukhi. And so this word, the phrases are pronounced Ong Namo Guru Dev Namo. And so this is in Kundalini tradition, roughly translates to, I bow to the divine creator, wisdom. I could also say teacher within. Okay, that's kind of with the guru. We all have a guru inside of us. That's that inner wisdom. And so really to go out and seek a guru in the outside world, that will not serve you as well as to getting in touch with your own inner guru. And so that's part of what Kundalini Yoga talks about. I'll put that on the screen here. Kundalini Yoga is the yoga of self-initiation. So meaning you don't have to go to a guru and have them initiate you. You initiate yourself through your own desire, your own will. And it talks a lot about the age of Aquarius, which is the Aquarian age we are coming into, where we are more self-sovereign and we are able to, like we said, attract and manifest anything we desire because we are all creator beings. Okay. So this is the phrase. I will sing the melody with you. I have my guitar here, and we'll spend the rest of our time doing a few of these chants. I have plenty I could share, but I chose some of my favorites. So this one here, make sure I'm in tune. Okay, so Om Namo Guru Dev Namo. I bow to the divine teacher or wisdom within. If you feel called to place a hand on the heart or in prayer pose or anything like that, you are welcome to. So you're basically getting in touch with your own wisdom. And the bowing is that self-reverence. You say, I bow to the inner wisdom. We don't know everything in words, but we do know, like we say, in our intuitive knowing, so much more than we can put in words. So this is to get in touch with that. So I will start the melody with you all, and then you all can join in as inspired. The words are there on the screen. Guru Dev Namo. Namo Gurudev. Namo. I'll take a long, deep breath. Inhale. Exhale. And then it's traditionary to just sit in the silence and just sit in the reverberations of what we just experienced. So let's take that moment now to just inhale, exhale, and just sit in the vibration of what we just expressed. And there is no requirement for having to sit in silence for a duration, but I find it to be a sense of reverence, but also to bring that presence. And so as you sit there, just see, what do you feel? What do you feel any different now than before you chanted? And bring any awareness to your body. Where do you feel anything? For me, I feel something in my heart. There's some sort of energy moving and percolating there. And so to think of that divine wisdom or teacher within, to feel that in my heart, that resonates with me, to say, okay, that might be the dwelling place of that innermost teacher, that heart wisdom that we have. And so if anyone else got any type of message or feedback or anything like that, you're welcome to put it into the chat. Just to share our experience is always welcomed. But any type of reflection is usually for our own benefit. Did somebody have a question that maybe came off a mute? A little out of breath. Okay. Yeah, that's okay. And if we get to that place where chanting feels challenging, and maybe this is the first time you've tried it, okay? And maybe, yeah, maybe you're noticing your nervous system is speeding up. Maybe you're feeling anxious, maybe out of breath. That's okay. Just take a breath, relax, release, and see that maybe what you need is something a more gentle rendition. Okay, so what I was doing towards the end with the finger picking, you can always do it in a more of a whisper. Om Namo Gurudev. Namo. And so you could almost create more of like a lullaby kind of energy with it, okay? And so it just depends. Some chants have an innate energy to them, and you almost fall into its own natural swing of things. But a beautiful thing about chanting is you'll notice the melody I was singing, that was taught to me by another Kundalini Yoga teacher. So you can pass melodies along, but you can definitely inspire your own melody. Maybe a phrase, a chant comes to you that you like, you want to work with. You find your own melody. It can be more powerful that way. Okay. Someone else says, vibration feels great. My heart is beating faster. That was great. Thank you. I feel very relaxed, but as always, my throat becomes raspy and voice goes. I did try breathing between some of the words, often wondering if chanting is not my thing. Okay, yeah, that's good to feel those things, DK. Those are also the mind wants to get involved. And what I would suggest is find your version of self-care, get some water, and find that, okay, first time, beginner, you got to get the training wheels on before you're riding the bike. So don't let those feelings challenge you, and that might be a place for you to work to unblock some of those feelings. But maybe chanting isn't your thing. You might like toning. Somebody else had mentioned earlier about a specific chant. I would like us to do at least one more chant tonight, but there's also just something called vocal toning, where you just go to those vowel sounds and you just go whatever sound wants to come out of you. You are, like we said, you're your own teacher. So let the sound be the teacher. Let the tension, the feeling, the pain, the anxiety, the nervousness move through you, and that can help you get in touch with that source of what is that feeling how does it want to be expressed. Okay, let me see. I have lots of chants here. So we could go to one that is I have two good ones. I'll do a quick short Hare Krishna, and then I will I'll do a finish with a Namaste, which is a fun one. And yeah, I've been told to allow light language to come through. Yeah, great, DK. So you're already tuning into some things there. So follow those intuitions. I think you're going to find when you release the fear, you're going to have a beautiful gift to share with the world. So another one here, guys, we'll do Hare Krishna. So this is more of a belief of Hare Krishna is a group of people who praise more of that Krishna energy. So that's the sustainer. Hare refers to the divine feminine potency of God. So I just got these definitions off the internet. Krishna means the all attractive one, and Rama is the reservoir of all pleasure. Hare Krishna, so that means people who chant this traditionally believe that the sound vibration of the mantra has a direct impact on the soul. Okay, so that kind of gets in line with what we were learning in Kundalini. So obviously, there's plenty of more chanting that we could do, and I apologize for if we compressed any of this towards the end, but Hare Krishna is another beautiful one too. So let me take you guys on this one, and if we have time for the Namaste, I'll do that at the end. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Okay, so that's the Hare Krishna, and that was actually original melody. So that one came through me, and it's the one that whenever I sing Hare Krishna, it's the melody that my soul wants to sing. So that one I have a close resonance with that. And if you like that, I do have a recording of that particular mantra on an album I have called Mantra Music. You can find on my website. So thank you, everybody. I don't know if we have time for one more short one. I'm looking at the time. I don't want to interrupt the next presenter, so I'll let Gail, um, I'll let you make that decision.
Yeah, if it's well, it's 10:30, so we may 10:30 my time. It's 8:30 your time, so yeah, we might not do that because we have Laura Saltman in the house. So we'll start her on time. Thank you very much for coming along, Matthew, as usual. Take your share screen off so that we can see you. There we go.
Yeah, there. Okay, yeah.
And
there we are.
So yeah, thank Matthew for coming along. It's always a pleasure. If you didn't do his sound healing a few days, everybody was just raving about it. So you did miss out on something special. But it was, it's been a real pleasure having you with us today with the manifestation and now with the chanting. And it's a really great resonance, and I can understand why chanting is a reset. So thank you for coming, Matthew. And I don't think I had anything up there for chanting. Do you have anything for chanting on your website at all? Because I put up Audio Soul Healing, which is wonderful music that you do. If you'd like to know more about Matthew, please go to the presenters and performers page. And thank you. Thank you for coming along, Matthew.
Yeah, thank you again, Gail. I'll share some info in the
Yeah,
chat for everyone, and
okay,
thank you again for
do
inviting
that.
me. It's been a wonderful experience.